Hey Pretty Girl Club, welcome back to the Decentering Men series. In this video, I want to talk about why I chose to be child-free. If you have children or you want children, this is not the video for you. Please do not comment down below trying to argue back and forth with this video or convince me to have children because your comments will be removed. This YouTube channel was created as kind of like a library of content. And so some of my videos on here you will be able to relate to, while other videos you won't be able to relate to. So if this video is not relatable to you, please go ahead and skip this one and go to another one because none of my videos are created to try to convince others to do anything. Everything that I say here on YouTube is literally me just sharing my thoughts and ideas. I'm not trying to get people to believe certain things. This is not a cult. And so please do not take anything that way. If you come in my comment section talking shit about child-free women, you will immediately be banned from commenting. I don't care how long you've been a subscriber. I didn't come on YouTube to gain subscribers or popularity. I came on YouTube to exercise my freedom of speech. And so now that that disclaimer is out of the way, I want to talk about some of the reasons why I chose to be child-free. These are in no particular order, but reason number one is I do not trust men enough in general to give them my womb. I feel like one of the misconceptions that a lot of women have is that if I love a guy and he loves me, then like he's going to make a great father. And I have witnessed too many times, and this is regardless of race, I've witnessed too many times where once they get a divorce or once he is no longer with the mother, he becomes absent in that child's life, or he only sees that child every 2 weeks. And so for me personally, I wouldn't want to risk giving a man that much trust, and then let's say that guy betrays me. Like another reason that I'm child free is because a lot of people stay trapped in bad marriages and relationships for the sake of their children. And so those children actually grow up thinking that it's normal to stay in a relationship just because of kids. And there's this lie that's been passed around that like if a guy is in the home, then the kids are going to turn out better. And my thing is, if they are in an unhealthy relationship, or that the father is like cheating, or he's abusing the mother, or he's treating her disrespectfully, what does that teach that little girl about how a man is going to treat her? Or if it's a boy, what does it teach that little boy about how to treat women? So I actually think that people wanting to have kids is a part of why we have so many generational curses being passed down. And that's another reason why I chose not to have kids. I do not want to bring an innocent child into this messed up society. I don't want to bring a little girl into this world and, there's a huge chance that she's going to be fetishized or touched the wrong way or harassed or told that she's not good enough or, like she's going to be a target. And same thing, I wouldn't want to bring an innocent little boy into this world where he is going to experience life as a man of color who is potentially bullied by other men or maybe seen as a threat or something, or he is indoctrinated with misogynistic and patriarchal teachings. So I just feel like society as a whole, like capitalism, patriarchy, misogyny, racism, and all the other isms, and like how messed up our society is, that's another reason why I would not want to bring an innocent soul into this world. So for those of you who believe in God, I don't consider myself religious anymore. I'm more like agnostic or whatever, or just non-religious, I guess. But the way that I view it is, if God is real and heaven and stuff is real, then why would I take my unborn children out of heaven to come to this ghetto ass earth? No, my children can just stay in heaven, just enjoy it up there or enjoy it up in the ethers, wherever you're at. Just keep enjoying it and, keep floating around in space or being in heaven or wherever you're at. Just enjoy it up there because there's nothing down here that I feel is better than what's in the spirit realm or what's in the afterlife or in heaven, whatever you believe. That's kind of my view. I feel like what is so special about earth to the point where if my children are literally in heaven with God, why would I take them out of that and then bring them down here? That's kind of my belief. I'm not even religious, but I guess that is something that I've thought about. Another reason that I do not want to have kids, and by the way, this is in no particular order, it's because of the price of childcare. So the cost of childcare have now matched and even surpassed the price of university. There are plenty of articles that talk about how the average child costs around $250,000 to raise from ages 0 to 18, and that's not including college and stuff like that. And so it's like, okay, first off, if I did have kids, I would want them to be privileged. So you're telling me that I would need to cough up $300,000 just to give my kids a decent start in life? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm not doing it. I'm never doing it. That's another reason why I don't want kids. And that actually leads me to my next point, which is that I do not want to become poorer for the sake of having children. I enjoy the financial freedom that comes with not having to be financially responsible for a child. Another reason that I am choosing to be child free is a lot of people don't talk about this. Actually, I've never heard anyone talk about this on YouTube. Children abuse their parents. Do you know how many children there are that hit their parents? They emotionally abuse their parents. And I understand children are innocent, so maybe they don't call it abuse. But it's like, no, I don't want to deal with the trauma of having a 5-year-old slap me in the face in Walmart. Like, I've literally seen people's children slap their parents in the face. I've seen people's children throw tantrums. I have seen teenagers call their moms fat or like talk shit about their moms behind their back. I've seen elementary schoolers kind of calling out their parents in front of friends and family and be like, Mom, you don't cook. What are you talking about, Mom? And just like saying stuff to where it's literally embarrassing the parents and emotionally traumatizing the parent. And so a lot of parents don't talk about this. A lot of mothers don't talk about how having a child actually can cause you to regress and to relive your own traumas. Having a child can cause you to experience so many triggers of so many different things to the point where I don't have the emotional availability to even deal with that. So for example, let's say you're a mother and you've always been insecure about like your hair texture. And then your child is born with that exact same hair texture. And then your child sees you maybe wearing wigs or, I don't know, complaining about your hair texture. And then she takes on those same behaviors. Now you have to go through a whole lecture explaining to her about how you are an internalized texturist or whatever. And then like you have to teach them so many things, and you also are exposing yourself on a consistent level to the point where it requires so much emotional availability to the point where I do not have that. I don't have enough emotional availability for a relationship, a YouTube channel, building wealth for myself, healing my own traumas, and then building the self-esteem of a 5-year-old and trying to prevent her from having other traumas or having to deal with whatever she deals with at school, and then having to constantly come back and try to explain things to her, trying to constantly encourage her. It's like, no, I am trying to encourage myself. I'm on my own mental health journey, and it's going to take 24/7, 365 for me to be the type of person that I want to be in this world. And there are some people who are going to say, oh, well, you're selfish. Okay, well, fine. I'm selfish then. All the more reason not to have a child, right? So you should get somebody else to do it. Get somebody else to do it. Go and find someone who is more selfless and sacrificial to be a mother, because I do not possess the selflessness and sacrificiality. I think I just made up a word, but I don't possess the qualities required to be the type of mother to where it's like I'm going to be super, I don't know, available. Well, actually, I feel like I would be one or the other. I would either be neglectful because I'm trying to provide for the child, or I feel like I would end up martyring myself so that the child can have a better life. And I don't want to do that either. So because I don't see a good option for balance, I choose not to do it. I feel like our society is not set up for mothers to live balanced lives. I feel like a lot of mothers, they become very overwhelmed, and mothers go through so many injustices. First of all, you've got to pay thousands of dollars just to birth your child in a hospital. Then you have to pay for all of the diapers and all this other stuff. So you're already like financially strapped. And then your body is getting messed up. Your hormones are all over the place. Nobody really has empathy for mothers. And so it's like, okay, if society does not value motherhood, why should I? This is the society we live in, folks. So it's like, I can't change, or it's like, I can't control the type of society I live in, but you guys know me. I like to think logically, okay? So I'm going to make the best decision for myself. I'm going to make a decision that benefits me. I want to be able to navigate through this society as easily as possible. And I understand that because this society is so corrupt, I don't want to have any more vulnerabilities or any unnecessary hardships that I don't need to have. And for some of you, maybe you feel like having kids is easy and it's fun. Okay, then get off this video with all due respect, because that's not what this video is for. This is just me sharing my thoughts. But yeah. Another reason why I chose to be child free is because I don't want to risk being a single mother. So I know that people, they seem to have this mindset that, like, if you're a single mother, it's because you just had a child outside of wedlock. That is false. I am not from the hood or the ghetto. No, no shade to anyone. But a lot of the single mothers I came across, they were married. So, for example, one girl that I knew, her husband died when she was in her 20s. He passed away in an accident. I've known of other women who they were married and they had the child when they were married and then they got a divorce, or they were married and they stayed married, but the husband became disabled, or something happened to where the husband basically was not able to care for the child. And so the mother was a married single mother. A lot of people don't talk about how when you are the woman, you are going to be the default parent. And so simply being married to a man, that is not enough security for me to feel okay with birthing a child, because I understand that I will still be the default parent. I also understand that if he passes away, I could still be a single mother. Or if he's out working, like let's say he can't afford really to have a child or multiple children, he's going to have to spend way more hours at work. And then maybe I would even have to spend more hours at work. And so that child is going to most likely be neglected. And so that's not something that I want to put an innocent person through. And that's also not something I want to put myself through. Another reason why I chose to be child free is because I feel like the sacrifices necessary to even be a decent mother are just too much for me to bear. It would literally feel like pressure to me, or like a weight on my shoulders, to where it's like, okay, I just got off work. Now I got to help Johnny with his homework. Now I got to make sure he gets his bath. Now I have to make sure to teach him how to brush his teeth and teach him all these different things. And so I feel like for me personally, having children would kind of distract from my own self care. You guys see me talk a lot about the soft life on this channel. You guys hear me talk a lot about like having beauty hobbies and kind of like restoring your own relationship with yourself. I feel like society is so corrupt to the point where the average person has literally been beaten down by society in general. And so that's going to take, you know, a nice healing journey. It's going to take like a longer healing journey, or like you may have to do more things to have self-care. So it's like, how am I supposed to care for myself and then somehow fill the cup of another person consistently every single day for 18 years, or actually for the rest of their lives? That's another reason that I am choosing to be child free. It's because you never stop being a parent. I'm not a big fan of making permanent decisions that are irreversible. You can get a divorce. You can dissolve a marriage. Well, I mean, in some states they're trying to make it illegal, but it's like you can get rid of a relationship. You can move out of a city. You can quit a job that you don't like, but you cannot make a child be unborn. So once that child is here, that child's here. There is no going back. Children are more permanent than marriage. And so, why would I make a permanent life changing decision that I can never take back? That already, in and of itself, does not sound logical to me. It doesn't sound logical and it doesn't sound appealing, because you cannot control how that child turns out. And that's actually another reason why I chose to be child free, because you could actually be the perfect mother. You could be freaking Mother Teresa and your child still acts like the spawn of Satan, because sometimes outside influences can get to your child. Sometimes children are born with special needs. Maybe he was born autistic or something, or he has like something going on with his brain. And that's another thing that nobody likes to talk about. Are we just going to pretend that special needs don't exist? Are we just going to pretend that risks with pregnancy do not exist? There are plenty of children who are born all the time who have special needs like cerebral palsy or Down syndrome, or even like dwarfism and stuff like that. Or some children are born with like one leg or one eye, or they're born blind. Like I have people in my hometown where their children, a couple of their children are like blind. She has something in her genetics to where like I think they told her that she has a higher chance of birthing special needs children. And so that's another thing. Like nobody thinks about having a child and then they assume that the baby is going to be unhealthy. And so one of the other reasons that I choose to be child free is because I will never have to go through the stresses of birthing a child and then finding out, oh crap, she has all these special needs, or oh my gosh, she has all these medical conditions, and now I have to pay tens of thousands of dollars to care for these medical conditions for the rest of my life. Or I can't travel now because my daughter has special needs and now I have to care for her, or I have to hire a caregiver to give her 24-hour care. These are the types of things that a lot of people do not think about before they have children. Another reason why I am choosing to be child free is because whenever somebody has told me a reason why they want children, they've never been able to give me a good reason. They've never been able to give me a good enough reason to where it's like, okay, yeah, I'm convinced I want to be a mom now. Because, for example, the reasons that a lot of people say they want children are reasons that kind of come off as just not very compelling to me. So, for example, I want someone who looks like me. Okay, like if I want to see someone who looks like me, I can look in the mirror, I can look at my parents, I can look at my siblings, I can look at my nieces and nephews or my cousins. So for me, that's not a strong enough reason to push me to having kids. Another thing people will say is, I want to teach them stuff. And that kind of sounds a bit odd to me, because it's like, okay, so you specifically want to birth a child so you can brainwash the child? And I'm not even saying that like you're trying to teach the child negative things, but it's like, if I want to influence someone, well, that's what I have a YouTube channel for. That's why I like to write. You can write books, you can make movies, you can produce films, you can help your community, volunteer for a nonprofit. I just feel like there are so many ways that I can disseminate information and teach people things that are way more efficient than risking my whole life and, making tearing up my body, ripping open my vagina just so I can teach this baby something. Oh, and by the way, side note, because of my Christian background, I've actually worked with at least over 1,000 children from ages 0 to 18. And so I'm not speaking from a place of, I have no experience with children. No, I come from a devout Christian background. I grew up caring for kids in the nursery, teaching Sunday school to the little children, like the elementary school kids, helping the middle school people, helping the youth group, helping teenagers, helping college students. So you can't tell me, oh, well, you just don't know. You've never been around children. No, I've been around so many children to the point where I know the good and the bad sides of children. And so I'm not willing to take that risk. By the way, that leads me to my next reason why I chose to be child free, which is I've been around enough children to know that eventually they're going to get on my nerves. And eventually I am going to want to not hang out with them and not be around them. And so why would I birth a child that is going to be around me 24/7 for the next 18 years? Or they're going to live with me. Imagine living with a 10-year-old boy. I've noticed that the age that I get the most annoyed by, I tend to get the most annoyed by elementary school preteen boys. Those tend to be the most annoying to me. Boys from ages 8 to about 11, because they're very rambunctious. They like to run around. They like to wrestle. They like to throw stuff. And I grew up being a babysitter. That was one of my many jobs when I was like 13 all the way up until, I don't know, my mid-20s really. So I've noticed that there are certain things that are just in a child's nature that annoy me. So I just feel like children in general are fundamentally annoying. And it's like, if I already get annoyed with adults, imagine being around a child. Because what a lot of people don't talk about is how children, they do not have the emotional skills or the social skills yet, because they're just children. So they don't know how to regulate their emotions like an adult. They don't know how to have social skills like an adult. So that's one thing that I've noticed, is that whenever I would work with children, they were cute until they could talk. Because once they hit about 10 or 11 years old, that's when a child becomes old enough to understand hypocrisy. So that's when you see the children who are talking back to their parents, or they're calling out their mom. They're saying, Mom, what are you talking about? Daddy was cheating on you. Like they're old enough to understand things like that, but then they lack the social skills. So they don't know that, like, hey, you're not supposed to say that in front of mommy's boss, or like, hey, you're not supposed to just go to the birthday party and then tell everybody that mommy is overweight and she has a fat stomach. And a lot of parents will say, well, no, that's just bad parenting. And it's like, no, parenting doesn't determine everything. You can't control another human being. I don't care who you are. You cannot control another human being. That child is a human being. And that's what annoys me about some parents. It's as if they think that child is not a human being. It's like, this is not a pet. I've noticed that a lot of people, they treat their children like pets. They're like, oh, I want to have a child because they're going to be cute. And it's like, wait, do you understand that this is an autonomous human being? Do you understand that all of us adults, that we were all once children and that we all have our own independent individual identities? And so I've noticed that a lot of people, they tend to have children out of codependency. Or another reason that I've heard other people say they want children is, oh, I just want someone that can love me, or someone to extend their love to me, or someone that, we can love each other. First of all, that sounds very sketchy. That's a very sketchy reason to me. Like that puts off so many red flags in my mind, because I'm thinking, wait a minute, are you that codependent and love starved to the point where you are birthing an innocent human being? Because remember, they're human beings, they're not pets. You're birthing a human being solely so you can get attention from them. So you can get attention from them, so you can get love from them, so you can get validation from them. But what happens when that child starts to develop their own autonomous identity? And they don't want to hang out with you because they're a teenager now. They want to go watch TV. They want to be on their phone. They want to go for a walk. They want to play sports. What happens when that child grows up and becomes a preteen and they now have their own autonomous desires and things that they want in life? So you're telling me that you're birthing a child simply because you want to fulfill your desire for love through that child? That sounds very sketchy to me. So you're telling me that my whole entire existence is so my mom can feel relevant, or so my mom can feel powerful, so my mom can feel loved. The most powerful form of love is self-love. And so that's another reason why I personally am choosing to be child-free. It's because I don't want to risk becoming codependent on an innocent human being. Because remember, this child will one day be an adult, and a lot of us here on this channel, we are the children of parents who had codependency, or parents who had us for narcissistic reasons, or parents who they birthed us because they thought we were some sort of pet, or they thought we were someone that was a trophy, or someone that was created to make them look good, or, kind of like a notch on their belt, like, look at my kids, or look at all the things they achieved. But a lot of parents don't realize that they are actually putting pressure on their children by doing that. So for me, I would never want to risk having that type of behavior with an innocent human being, because I would understand that even if someone comes out of my womb, they still are their own person. I don't own them. They are not my property. Just because they came out of my body, it doesn't mean they're my property. It doesn't mean that I can control them. So for the parents who try to say, oh, well, that's just bad parenting, well, you are probably a bad parent, because you can't control your child. You cannot control a child. You can try to influence a child, but people who blame everything on, oh, it's just simply bad parenting, they don't understand psychology and they don't understand sociology. No matter how perfect your parenting is, that child is still an individual. They can still choose to completely go against your parenting and make their own decisions in life. So yeah, you can influence them and you can try to tell them, oh, hey, you should believe this religion, or hey, you should be straight and not be LGBT. But eventually that child is going to make the decision for themselves and say, hey, no, I don't want to follow what my mom and dad taught me. Also, not to mention the fact that all children have a phase where they become naturally kind of rebellious because they're just trying to establish their own identity. And so I've noticed that a lot of parents, they tend to have a problem when this happens. So when the child becomes a teenager, suddenly it's a problem. And it's like, well, why is it a problem? Is it because you thought that you could just birth a kid and then like control them, or like get them to act exactly how you wanted them to act? So now that they're a teenager and they have been witnessing the society we live in for the past 15 years, now suddenly they're a problem? I've noticed that a lot of parents will be like, oh, it's hard, like dealing with teenagers. And it's like, well, what did you think that you were having when you got pregnant? When you got pregnant, you should have thought about the fact that, yeah, this pregnancy, they are one day going to be a teenager. One day, this human inside of my body is going to be 35 years old. So I've noticed that a lot of people who do choose to have children, they want babies, but they don't want teenagers. They don't want adults. They don't want college age kids. They don't want preteens. They don't want an elementary schooler. And so it's like, I personally, I would never want to risk treating another human being like that, like a pet or something, like a puppy. I've noticed that some people who say they want babies, they're acting like their baby is some sort of puppy, and then once they become a teenager, or they're a young adult, then suddenly they become threatening. And so I would never want to have a child and then like end up accidentally treating it like a pet, or treating the child like it's some sort of pet. And then as the child grows up, I'm like, oh shit, I thought you were going to be like me. And that's another reason why I wouldn't want children. It's because I feel like it's human nature to subconsciously want other people to be like you. And so I feel like that's something I can't really control. So if I had a child on a subconscious level, I would probably want that child to be just like me. And that's not fair because the child is still its own person. She is still her own person. He is still his own person. So they may or may not want to be like me. So that's another reason I'm choosing to be child free. It's because I understand that just because a human being came out of my womb, it does not mean I have entitlement to control them. I am not entitled to direct their life. And I know that a lot of people, especially if you have a religious background, you have probably grown up with parents who teach you that, no, I'm the head of the house, or, I'm your father, I'm in charge of you. And it's like, well, no, I understand that basically what I would be doing is I would be kind of like a babysitter for 18 years or trying to teach the child as much as I can. But then after that, they're going to go out in the world and they're going to be their own person. And so what's the point? What's the point? I'm just birthing another child who is statistically going to become average. Like, no offense, that's another reason I don't want kids. I've noticed that one of the reasons that people say they want kids is they'll be like, oh, my kid could be the next person that cures cancer. My kid could be the next Tesla or the next Albert Einstein. Okay, but those types of people are extremely rare. Like, I'm talking 1 in a billion or once in multiple generations. Einstein is someone who is a once in a billion people. He's a 1 in a billion type of person. So there's about a 1 in 1 billion chance that you will birth an Einstein. And that doesn't make logical sense to me. Why would I make a permanent decision? Why would I make a permanent life decision based on a 1 in a billion chance? That doesn't make logical sense to me. And so for most people, they don't want to admit that their children are most likely going to become average. They're going to be middle class or suburban people. Then they're just going to get married and, work a regular 9 to 5 cubicle job for the next 45 years. And so that dream that you had for that child, first of all, I actually don't even think that's fair. I kind of don't think it's fair to have a mindset of, I'm birthing this child so that he could be Einstein. What if he doesn't want to be Einstein? What if he wants to go help kids in Africa, or he wants to be a teacher and that's it? So that's another reason why I don't want kids, because once again, all of the reasons that other people have given me for why they have wanted kids or why I should have kids, none of them sound compelling to me at all. None of them even make logical sense to me, to be honest. Some of the reasons that people have recommended having kids don't even make moral sense to me. For example, having a child so you can basically live vicariously through them. Oh, I want to have a child so they can be the next black doctor. It's like, well, okay, hold on. My child is not a clout chasing machine. My child is not something that I'm birthing just so I can have a potential status symbol. That sounds kind of weird and kind of selfish. Like, okay. If they do become that, that's great. But specifically birthing a child in hopes that I can clout chase off of their wealth. And, that's another thing that people say. I want to have kids so that somebody can take care of me when I'm old. Once again, that also sounds selfish to me. It's like, wait a minute. So I am being brought into the world because remember, I am the child of somebody else. Everyone listening, you are the child of someone else. So that's like your parents saying, oh no, I only birthed you so that you could pay for my retirement, so you can take care of me. So you owe me your money. I birthed you so that you could get a job and give me your money. Okay, so you're basically saying you want a slave. So you're birthing employees. So you birth the child so that it can be your employee? That sounds psychotic to me. That does not sound like a good reason to have kids. So basically what I have noticed is that any reasons that I have wanted to have kids, they ended up being selfish reasons. And so that's why I chose okay, I'll just not have a kid, because yeah, a kid would be cute, but that's kind of selfish. Like, oh, okay, I'm just birthing you so you can just look cute and make me look cute. And then we can take cute family portraits. That's kind of a shallow reason for me personally. So for other people, maybe it's worth it. But for me, a lot of the reasons why I was considering having kids in the past throughout my life, none of those reasons were strong enough to really influence me to have children. By the way, I'm 32 years old, so I think after age 35, it's like a geriatric pregnancy or something. So obviously, none of those reasons that were, that were given to me by society, none of those were compelling enough for me to want to have children. Another reason why I chose to be child-free is because I think I'm cute. Yep, that's right. I am being shallow. I want my stomach to remain flat. I have never in my life had a super big flabby, like, the people that have like all the loose skin and like all that other stuff. Even when I was at my biggest, like, even when I was fat, my stomach still somehow stayed flat. I have an hourglass shape. So I'm not willing to destroy my body or like have my boobs be like on the floor, or like, my boobs are going down to my waist now. They're going down to my hips now because of breastfeeding. I am not willing to destroy my body for the sake of birthing another autonomous human being. Because remember, your kids don't owe you anything. Kids don't owe you shit. So for me, I already have that in mind. And that's a part of what influences me to not have kids, because it's like, so I'm destroying my body for another human being that doesn't owe me anything anyway, because that child didn't ask to be here. And this is something that I tell my parents too. If they start kind of trying to influence me, or like if they start, I don't know, trying to scold me, I'm like, Mom, Dad, I didn't ask to be here. I did not ask to be on this earth. You guys birthed me. You guys wanted me to be here. So I don't want to hear any complaints. I don't talk to my parents like that, but I'm just kind of summarizing. But it's like, you guys brought me here to this earth. I didn't ask to be on this ghetto ass earth. I didn't ask to have to be here in this capitalistic society. I didn't choose to be here. I know that the spiritual people are going to say, yes, you did. But like I said, I'm not religious. So it's like, no, Mom and Dad, you guys wanted me to be here. So you can't have kids and then complain that like you didn't meet your life goals, or like you didn't have the finances to do XYZ. Okay, but that was your choice though, to have kids. I didn't tell you, hey, you need to birth me. No, you guys chose to birth us. So don't birth children and then get mad at how the children turned out. You birthed them. You brought them to this earth. They didn't choose to be here. But yeah, that's another reason why I have chosen to be child free. It's because I'm not willing to destroy my body and miss out on sleep, because, by the way, the average mother of a newborn ages more quickly because of the lost sleep. I think that they lose sleep for like the first 3 years of the child's life or something like that. So yeah, I'm not willing to lose 3 years worth of sleep and fuck up my face. So now my face is smooth. I don't have any like visible wrinkles or anything. So you're telling me my face is going to get all wrinkly and messed up? I'm going to be over here with gray hairs and shit, stomach all hanging out, saddlebag hips, eye bags under my eyes, stretch marks and shit. And then I have to spend tens of thousands of dollars to get a mommy makeover. So I have to get a whole boob job now. I have to get a tummy tuck now. I have to like cut the loose skin off and do all these surgeries just to recover my body from birthing an autonomous human being that doesn't even owe me anything, that may or may not turn out how I want. Most likely not. Statistically speaking, your child is not going to turn out how you think they are. So just saying, if you're a fence sitter, statistically speaking, your child is not going to be exactly who you thought they were going to be. They're not going to look exactly how you thought they would look. They're not going to have the personality that you thought they would have. In fact, a lot of children and teenagers will go out of their way to be the opposite of what their parents are. And this is a part of their own journey of finding their own identity. So if you think you're such a great person and, you're so great and amazing and you have such great morals or whatever, that's kind of like my background. My parents are like that. They're very Christian, very religious. So it's like, if you think you had such great morals and stuff and you would raise this great woman of God, okay, Mom and Dad, well, I guess you guys failed, because I am not, I'm not a pastor. I came from 5 generations of like pastors and preachers and stuff. So it's like I didn't even become who you thought I would become. I did not fulfill the purpose that you thought that I was going to fulfill. So the reasons you birthed that child, they are more than likely not even going to become that. Like I have an aunt who, she had a daughter and she really wanted her daughter to be a doctor. So from the time that she birthed that baby, she was like, I'm so excited, she's going to be a doctor when she grows up. And she really did like try everything, and like she was very encouraging to her daughter. She'd be like, yeah, you should be a doctor. I even remember her daughter, I remember my cousin saying when she was little, I want to be a doctor. And she really did want to be a doctor for a little while, but she didn't become a doctor. So for all of the people who have kids, that's another thing I've realized is, statistically speaking, that child is not even going to be whatever you thought the child was going to be. And I also think it's a little bit self-centered, and like it kind of comes off as narcissistic, that you think that you can just birth a child and you get to control the outcome of that child. Like you can just control the entire direction of their life, and like it's all about you and what you want for that child. That sounds like another selfish reason to me. So that was another non-compelling reason to have kids. But that was something that a lot of people used to say. People, they tell me all the time, you would be such a great mom. Like, you would be able to teach that child so many things. The child would be so smart. And it's like, okay, but even if I did teach the child everything, and even if the child was smart, there's no guarantee that that child will become just like me. And also, isn't that kind of weird? Like, why do I need another copy of myself? Like, why do I want to copy myself and like have all these people who look like me, they talk like me, they act like me? I feel like a lot of times people have children so that they can feel important and influential because maybe they don't have any power or relevance in society as a whole. And so this is very similar to on the Decentering Men series, where I talk about how most men are irrelevant without women. Let's be honest, most women are irrelevant without children. And this is because they did not self actualize in their own lives. They didn't do anything as far as their career, or maybe they didn't achieve their own goals. And so I have noticed that some women who did not level up on their own, they're hoping to have a child so that they can feel powerful or they can feel like they're the boss. Because for a lot of women who feel powerless in life, these are actually some of the women who want children the most. Hashtag narcissistic mothers. So a lot of women who feel neglected or they feel powerless in life or they feel extremely traumatized, a lot of these women will actually be the ones who are most likely to have children because they are hoping that, hey, I finally can have a position of power now. Now I get to be the boss of the household. Now I get to decide if my child has a good day or not. Now I get to feel someone who loves me unconditionally. That's another thing. I've heard some people make the psychotic claim that they want to have children so that they can be loved unconditionally. That claim in and of itself is psychotic. Who told you that unconditional love exists between humans? Number one. Number two, if you are rude to your child, if you're disrespectful to your child, everybody has limits. I don't care if your child is 13. I don't care if they're 5 years old. Every person has limits, and especially a child, because children, they don't know how to regulate their own emotions. So if you are expecting your 5-year-old to love you unconditionally, people in their 50s don't even know how to love people unconditionally. I actually believe that humans in general do not love unconditionally. I actually believe that unconditional love is codependency, because if you ask someone to describe what unconditional love means, they will begin describing codependency, meaning, oh, you're a ride or die for me. You're going to stay there with me no matter what I do. You always have my back, even if I'm wrong. People will call things like that unconditional love. That's just codependency. And so for the parents who say, I want to have a child so that I can be loved unconditionally, that sounds pretty sick and narcissistic to me, because if you that means that you want a child to be codependent on you, meaning that no matter how much of a bitch you are to that child, the child's going to keep coming back to you, which is actually in a child's nature, because children are naturally codependent because, their survival depends on that parent. And so to me, that reasoning of having children, it just sounds very narcissistic. It sounds very like, oh, I just want to have power and control over another human being. And I've noticed that a lot of the most traumatized women tend to want children the most. And these are the women who have 5 kids, 10 kids, 6 kids, 7 kids, 12 kids. And it's because outside of the house, she feels powerless. And don't even get me started on, this is a channel for women of color. So I've really noticed this amongst all races of women, but I do believe that that could be one of the root reasons that a lot of women are narcissistic mothers. It's because in society or in reality, outside of the home, she hasn't leveled up, or she couldn't, or she was oppressed in some way. And so she finally wants to be in a position of power. So, but then again, that's still not a good reason for me to have children. I shouldn't have to birth a whole child and birth a whole human being just so I feel powerful. That sounds kind of sick and weird to me, but okay. So that's another reason I'm child free. It's because I don't feel the need to dominate and control others. I don't feel the need to tell people what to do. Bossing people around does not make me feel good. Bossing people around doesn't make me feel more relevant. I just feel like there are so many other ways to attain power, especially in today's society. I can open my own bank account. I can open a business where I'm the boss of it. I can create my own YouTube channel. I can write a book if I want to. There are so many other ways that I can attain power in a more healthy setting where I don't have to have power over another autonomous individual, because that sounds more like abuse to me. Another reason why I am child free is because I like peace and quiet. I've noticed that I get annoyed by crying babies. I get annoyed by screaming and throwing tantrums. I get annoyed when I want to sleep in on the weekend. And then I have a 7-year old coming up to me and saying, I'm hungry. I want to eat breakfast. I noticed I get annoyed with like little children running in and out of the house, and then they're like tracking mud into the house, or they're very messy and stuff. I'm already messy enough. Just as my own individual human being, I'm already messy enough. I already don't like doing dishes and chores. And so having children, that is going to double or triple the amount of laundry I have to do, the amount of dishes I have to wash. And I don't feel like doing that. I like having my peace, and I like having quiet time. I like having free time in general. That's another reason I chose to be child free. I just feel like having a child takes up a lot of time. So I have to, I have to get my work done between the hours of 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. because then I have to go pick up TT from school. And then, I have to make sure that she has her bath and her snack. I have to monitor her nutrition levels, make sure she's getting all of her nutrients. And it's like, I'm barely doing that for myself. Like I literally went to the doctor and I had low iron. Like I need to take care of my own nutrients and stuff and make sure that like my own body is being healthy. So I enjoy the free time that comes with not having children. Another reason that I have chosen to remain child free is because I enjoy the freedom of traveling. A lot of people will say, "Oh, well, you can just travel with the children," and it's like, yeah, you can travel with the children and be miserable. I don't want to have to pay for 2 or 3 extra plane tickets, or like, oh, I have to make sure that it's not too hot because my 2-year-old, she's gonna get hives and stuff, or she's gonna get sunburned. I like the freedom of like just being able to get up. Like I'm literally going to Mexico next week, and this was not planned out. This is like, that's something I would not be able to do if I had children. I can't just pick up and go out of the country next week, or pick up and like me and my boyfriend or me and my friends just pick up and go somewhere. Like, so I enjoy having the freedom to travel as much as I want. I like being able to make impulsive decisions, like spontaneous. I just feel like I like being spontaneous. And sometimes when you have kids, it can take away a lot of the spontaneity in your life. And I've noticed that that's actually one of my core values. I need to have freedom. I need the power to be spontaneous. Yes, I want to be able to drive to Dairy Queen at 2 a.m. if I want to, and, get some ice cream and then like watch a bunch of movies. And that's something that I can't really do with a newborn. I don't want to have to like pack up a whole suitcase or pack up the diaper bag, put the baby in the car seat, and then it's like, oh crap, the baby's crying. Now I'm all stressed out. I don't want to have to go through all of that. So I really enjoy being spontaneous. I like going on hikes. That's another thing. I wouldn't be able to really go out or go on hikes and stuff. I would have to either have my husband, like let's say I'm married or something, my husband would have to babysit, and then like I'd have to pay someone just so I can go on a hike, just so I can go on a date. And this also leads me to my next point as far as why I enjoy being child free. I feel like being child free actually has helped me to enjoy my relationships more. So when I say relationships, I'm not just talking about like with a guy or something. I'm talking about my friendships. For example, all of my friends are also child free. We've already made plans. Like for example, in my friend group, they just went on a trip. We have done hiking stuff together. We have like run 5Ks together. Just so many random things like that. Another thing is, yes, even romantic relationships. If you are the type of person who likes dating, or maybe you have a boyfriend or something, if that guy does not have kids and you don't have kids, you guys are going to be able to more freely enjoy what you're doing. I made the horrible mistake of dating a guy before who had children. Literally, it was horrible. I felt like I was grounded every other weekend because he'd be like, oh, I have the kids, so like basically we have to like stay home. We have to stay home or stay in my neighborhood because like the kids are going to be here. Okay, I have to go pick them up at this time, then I have to drop them off at that time. Then me and you can hang out once we drop off the kids. And it's like, I didn't like that. I didn't like feeling like I'm grounded. It's like, no, I'm young, I'm beautiful, I'm carefree. I want to be able to enjoy my summer. I want to be able to enjoy I want to be able to enjoy my life and have freedom and not be like, oh crap, I have to go meet up with this person to like drop off the kids and pick them up, or nope, I got to sit outside in 90-degree weather to watch a soccer game or to watch this football game, or, little Johnny has a swim meet today, so I have to get up and make sure I'm there by 10 a.m. Otherwise, little Johnny is going to be traumatized because he's going to say, my mom never came to my swimming tournaments. My mom never came to my baseball game. So now my whole weekend is fucked because I have to go to all these random soccer games that I don't want to go to, dealing with these bitch ass PTA moms that I don't want to deal with, a bunch of Karen ass bitches. I have to deal with like 5 refrigerator ladies sitting next to me on the bleachers talking shit about me. I don't want my life to look like that. And another reason why I enjoy being child free is because, I'm sorry, but what if your kids turn out like ugly or, and I'm not trying to be mean, but seriously, some people, like, just because you're pretty, it doesn't mean your kids are going to look like you. Like I said, some people have children who have actual deformities and like cleft lip, or they only have one eye, or, those types of things are actually more common than you think. Maybe they have like a gigantic birthmark on their face, or they have something to where it causes people to potentially bully them or make fun of them. That's not something that I would want to deal with, because I know that if I had a child that was suffering, that would make my self-esteem go down so badly. Like, that would make my anxiety go up. And so not having a child means that I don't have a trigger. I just feel like children are walking triggers, because you know how they say that your subconscious mind isn't developed until after the age of 7, and like from ages 7 and below, that child is like one big sponge just walking around, and he's just soaking up everything around him. And if he has something bad happen to him, or if I accidentally traumatize him, and that's inevitable, by the way, because all parents have flaws. So not if you mess up, when you mess up on your parenting, then you have to deal with the fact that you literally caused your own child to have an anxious attachment style, or to have an avoidant attachment style. You cause that child to have an inferiority complex. So that's another thing. I don't want to accidentally project my own insecurities onto a child. Also, another reason why I enjoy being child free is because I enjoy the autonomy of my identity. I am Exoticals United. I am not Johnny's mom or Johnny's grandma. So I like the fact that I do not have to further split my identity in order to kind of accommodate somebody else. Because one thing that I've noticed about a lot of mothers is your identity does kind of change, or your personality kind of changes, because it has to. And I've had a lot of my friendships affected by my friends becoming mothers, because like I said, I'm 32. So a couple of my friends have either gotten married and had children, or some of them just have children and they are not married. But it's like, it does kind of affect your identity, because your life revolves around that child now. Your life is no longer your own. And so for me, because I enjoy my freedom and independence, I like that my life still belongs to me. And then, like I said, if I want to have a boyfriend or husband or something, then it can just be me and him. And then that's it. It's just us two, or it's just me on my own. And that's it. I don't have to worry about a third person who is completely dependent on me financially, emotionally. They are centered around me. I am their center. I'm the center of their identity. And I don't like that. I don't really like the idea of almost being forced to share my identity with another human being in order for that human being to be healthy. I don't really like that idea or that concept. And so I enjoy the freedom of my identity. I also enjoy how society treats me as a child-free woman. I don't like how society treats mothers. I don't like how society treats single mothers, married mothers, or just mothers in general. And so I do enjoy the way that I get treated in society as someone who does not have a child. I do believe that there is privilege attached to being child-free. I'm not bashing it. I know that our society's messed up. I know that privileges should not exist, but they do. And I enjoy the privilege of not being treated like a mother, or not being a mother, or not having to make so many sacrifices, or have people devalue what I bring to society. I just enjoy being child-free. Another thing is I enjoy my free will. So I'm not saying that you have no free will if you have children, but yeah, your schedule is kind of restricted. Your travels are restricted. I would not feel comfortable going on a 1-month long vacation out of the country if I had children. I wouldn't feel comfortable bringing them, and I also wouldn't feel comfortable leaving them with someone else. And so I enjoy that I have all the aspects of my free will that are still intact. And I know that some people are going to be like, no, you can have children and still travel for a month. Yeah, but I would feel guilty about it. And so I like that I don't have to deal with mom guilt. I don't have mom guilt because I don't have any children. Another reason that I choose not to have children is because I do not want to pass down generational curses. I refuse to pass down generational traumas. I do not care about keeping the population going. I feel like there are enough other women out there who are happy to have babies. I don't really need to have any babies. Also, long story short, on both sides of my family, from Gen X and above, both sides of my family, mom's side and dad's side, everybody had a baby by the time they were 19 years old. Every single woman in my family, doesn't matter her skin tone, didn't matter her race, didn't matter her socioeconomic status, they all had babies by the age of 19. They were all single mothers at some point, whether they were married and got a divorce. Some women in my family, the husbands passed away. He got old. For other women, the husband became disabled. So every single woman, not only did they have babies young, and I saw the stress that it affected, I saw the stress just witnessing them. So that really turned me off, really, just being honest. Even watching my own mother. My mother is married. My mom and dad are still married to this day. But and also I come from a, kind of a well-to-do type of background, or I guess you could say upper middle class background. And witnessing the stress, not just on my mother, but on literally every woman in my family on both sides, regardless of socioeconomic status, race, who they married, what race the man was, how long they were married, they all experienced a lot of stress, and they all experienced not being able to kind of like do the things they wanted to do because of their children. And so I didn't want to pass that down. I didn't want that to happen to me. It's funny because when I turned 19, I actually cried tears of happiness because I had made it to 19 years old without having become pregnant and without, getting married really fast and like having a baby or anything. So I actually view it as a flex that I have gone this long without succumbing to the pressures of society to have a child. I also am very introspective. I know I'm an extrovert, but I'm actually very introspective. And I really do think about what I want in life. And I simply do not have a desire. I never had like that mother instinct. So you know how when you're a little girl, your parents start socializing you to become a wife and mother. So they give you baby dolls and stuff. So I had baby dolls and I had Barbie dolls. And I noticed that I always had an affinity to the Barbie dolls because the Barbie dolls were adults. And, they could go to college. They had like the Dr. Barbie, they had the Bratz dolls, I had the Mycene dolls. So I always, from the time I was a little girl, I always imagined myself as an adult, just single, just on my own or whatever, or maybe with some sort of boyfriend or something. And I always imagined myself just going to college and writing books or just doing whatever I wanted to do. So I never had that mother instinct. Even when I got baby dolls as a child, I didn't get the baby dolls and play with them like they were babies. I would get bored when I would change the baby doll's diaper. I would get tired of it. Even as a child, I would be like, this is boring and tiring. This is not fun. Changing a baby doll's diaper is not fun. And then eventually I'd run out of diapers and then I'd be like, yeah, this is not fun. I don't like doing this. And so I started playing with my baby dolls as if they were adults. I would pretend that my baby dolls were in school. I would line up all the baby dolls on my bed, and then I would like put a piece of paper on the wall, and then I would pretend like I was a teacher. So from the time I was a child, I don't know if my brain was just resistant to the fact, like to the mindset of being a mother, but I just never had that desire from the time I was a little girl. And then as I got older and as I was in the church, I became more of a fence sitter because my family and like in the church, they talk about being fruitful and multiplying and, having kids and stuff like that. And so I kind of was a fence sitter, but none of the desires or the reasons to have children, none of them were strong enough for me to want to actually have the children. Because when people in the church used to tell me, you should have children because then you're building the kingdom of God. The way that I saw it was, well, no, because the children are already in the kingdom of God, right? Because they're in heaven right now, right? Because your unborn children are with God, because in him they live and move and we have our being in God, right? That's a scripture. So I don't have to actually birth the children to build the quote unquote kingdom of God, because the children can just stay up in heaven with God instead of having to come through my womb and come on this earth. And so I guess nobody was just able to convince me. And some people say, oh, if you find a man that you love enough, that man will get you to do anything. Like somebody told me that one time. And I was thinking, that's a manipulative man. Or that would mean that I'm weak-minded and that I didn't really have an identity. If all it takes is a man to just, convince me to do something, it's like, no, I want to be able to make my own decisions. I don't want a man to have to come and manipulate me into birthing his child. That sounds sketchy. So I just remember that all of the reasons that people told me they wanted kids, they were all sketchy reasons for the most part. Another thing was like, people would try to accuse me of somehow being selfish by not having children. So once again, it was just weird. And also, I noticed that usually the only people who would get mad about my decision were either women with children or men. So it's like, okay, why is it that only women with children are obsessed? Could it be that they are regretful parents and that maybe they just want me to join them? And then same thing with men. It's like, could they be mad because I'm taking away their power because I'm refusing to birth their child? By the way, another side effect of becoming child-free was that it actually cured any insecurities that I had about like my physical appearance. So for example, you know how they'll be like, oh, you want to make sure you show off your natural beauty. You need to make sure that he's attracted to you and make sure that he knows you have good genes so that his kids will come out looking like you. Or at least that's the type of stuff, that's the type of messaging I received, was that, I need to show off my natural beauty, natural hair texture, everything natural so that that man can be attracted to me because he knows that I have good genes that are very beautiful and that his children will be beautiful. But I kind of viewed that like, well, what? Like, so my whole goal in life is to prove how beautiful I am so that a man could want to impregnate me. Like, that didn't even make sense right there. And so that kind of like turned me off to it as well. And then I noticed that since I never developed a desire for children, it also cured that whole feeling of, oh, I'm not good enough. Or, what if he doesn't like my hair? What if he doesn't like my face? What if he doesn't like my skin? Because I grew up in a non-black environment. So I was like, oh, what if he doesn't like my blackness? All of those insecurities went away once I became child-free because I was like, it doesn't matter. I'm not having anyone's children. So whoever's with me, he will know that I'm child-free, so he won't have to even worry about how are my kids going to look, do I like her body type, do I like her height, do I like her skin tone? And also, I wouldn't even want to be with a guy who only wants to pick me so that he can have my genes passed on to his children. That was another thing that convinced me to be child-free. I got tired of men fetishizing me and specifically trying to target me to become their baby mama. I'm sorry that this happened mainly with black men. A lot of black men, they would beg me to have their babies, or they would say like, oh, our babies, they're going to look like you. They're going to have your skin tone. They're going to have your hair texture. They're going to have your body type. Or even sometimes even non-black guys or like guys that I would date in the past, they'd be like, oh yeah, our kids, they're going to be mixed. They're going to have so many different things in their racial background because of the two of us. And so they're going to have your athleticism that comes from your blackness. I'm also tall. So they'll also have your height. And oh my gosh, they would be like superhumans, and you're smart and you're pretty. Oh my God, our kids would be like superhumans. So I also didn't like that. I didn't like that people were kind of fetishizing my genetics or fetishizing my mindset. Like a lot of guys, they'd be like, oh, you're so smart. Like I want to have kids with you because I know that if you're their mother, then my kids are going to be smart. But it's like, why am I obligated to birth children to pass on my intelligence? Why can't I just enjoy my own intelligence? Has anyone noticed this? Whenever you are deemed to have a privilege about you, or whenever someone views you as superior somehow, whether it's in athleticism, your intelligence, your beauty, somehow people think that you're obligated to share that beauty with others, share that intelligence with others. You have to birth children now because you are so pretty. You have to be someone's mom now because you are so smart. You have to have my baby now because I want to pass along XYZ ethnicity. And it's like, no, I'm not required to save the world with my genetics. I don't feel the need to do that. I feel like there are plenty of other women who have my background, who are creating children. There are plenty of couples swirling right now. We've got a whole divestment movement. There's a whole passport bro movement. There's a whole interracial dating movement. There are plenty of multiracial black people being born. And plus, even if the multiracial ethnicity is extinct, or if mixed people are extinct, okay, well, what does that mean? Like, I would be extinct too, so like, who cares? Literally, who cares? Just let me enjoy my time while I'm on this earth, and that's it. But anyway, are you child-free? What do you ladies think? Has anyone tried to pressure you into having their children or being their baby mama? Let me know what you think in the comment section, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.